Okay. Okay. One sec. We should just check if we are. We should just check if we are live. We're live. Okay.
Here we are.
We're live. Okay. Hi. I want to. It would be nice if we can see like the comments and stuff. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, great. Guys, we're live. Hi, I'm FP from Sanctum, and this is
Colin from Metadao or Nalic.
Yeah, awesome. And so Colin has flown all the way here to Singapore in our office. I've just spent the past like 2 hours or so trying to understand what the hell Futaki is and how it's supposed to help us. And the idea really is to kind of try to understand it and then try and figure out if it's the right fit for Sanctum to adopt it. Like what the hell, you know. So I think the way in which we would think about running this session is that I will try to walk through what I've just learned 2 hours ago about Futaki, why Futaki makes sense, how it could make sense. We'll walk through a little bit of like the technical details, and then we'll answer a lot of like community questions that we've on Twitter. So okay, cool. And then so at any time, just stop me if I make like a mistake. And okay, let's go. Okay, great. So we are. Let's go to the sharing the screen. Shit. One sec. Where is it? This one? This one? This one? This one? Ooh. This one? Share screen. Futaki. All right, great. There we go. Okay, great. So, so Colin has made up some slides, and I kind of like first want to explain sort of like big picture, like why we're trying to sort of like implement Futaki, right? Like we've all heard this thing, and what is Futaki? No fucking idea, right? And so I think I just know it has something to do with token voting and MetaDAO and so on. And so I think what we're really so Futaki is a new form of governance, right? Yes. And it's supposed to help us make better decisions.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the big picture is that if we were to adopt Futaki, it would help us make better decisions, and therefore, right, because better decisions would make us more successful, the token price would go up.
Yes. Yes.
Among other things.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And it's sort of like some like market-based, approach, right? Some sort of trading, and I had no idea how does it work. But at least the big picture is that it's a better way to make decisions, right? If we kind of like lean on the market's wisdom, they were able to make better decisions, and we're able to sort of do the right things, more successful things, and then we were able to succeed. Mm-hmm. That's the idea, right? Okay, so you have this slide here,
yeah,
right? Can you just walk us through like what this means?
Yeah, I think high level with a lot of this stuff is we've experienced governance in many different ways in many different countries. Many of us have different experiences with it. Futarchy is using markets to make decisions. So what is a decision? In this case, it's some action that we would take, similar to token voting normally, right? Like you put it up, you say, here's a proposal, we want to do something with it. Futarchy is, if we take some action, will that increase or decrease the value of the token in this case? To do that, we create two markets.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're good.
Two markets, accept or reject.
For accept the proposal or reject it, or accept the action or reject the action. If the accept market is higher price than the reject, then in this case, and I'm using votes so people have some reference point, then the proposal succeeds, the vote succeeds. And the key differentiator here is by trading in either of these markets, that is your vote, right? You're not voting with your allocation of tokens, you're actually trading, and trading is the fundamental proxy for what we have in traditional token voting.
So before we get into kind of like how this works and this trading stuff, like why would we actually think that this is a good idea? What's the prima facie reason?
Markets have a lot of good intrinsic properties. They align incentives for participants. They have a much wider range of participants, and markets are a native place for information and coding, right? So why is this better? Is many companies have run internal prediction markets for, say, when a building will be completed, or what will HP has used printer sales. And those internal markets have beaten their expert forecasts. So people that are experts in the field that they're asking these questions for, markets have actually beaten them. In the case of the space shuttle explosion, the market's priced in the root cause of that incident within 16 minutes. So it took NASA, I think, 3 months, but the markets had already priced that in as the root cause. So these are things that are indicators that markets may be or are better decision makers, or could be leveraged to make better decisions. And that's where this all came up, and was actually developed by George Mason University professor Robin Hanson in 2000. I think he originally published the paper in 1999. But
Yeah.
what he did with that is he said, here's all this evidence for this. So why don't we create it? And Vitalik's written about this. This is not a new concept by any means, but this is the first implementation of this. This is the first time we put it. Crypto provides a very unique opportunity. We have tokens, we have programmable money. If we were to go to the SEC and say, hey, we want to fork Apple stock to make decisions, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So crypto has a very unique place for this to exist, and that's why we're building what we're building and why we have it here.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that is really sort of nice history, right? Do we have any kind of crypto evidence that it? I mean, obviously it is new, and the answer could be no. But do we talk about prediction markets and the space shuttle and blah blah blah? Do we have actually any real world? Have you seen anything, right, that could suggest that it's better at making decisions in our context?
Yeah, I mean, MetaDAO is dogfooding this, right?
Okay.
Absolutely. So our DAO is governed by Futarchy,
right?
And we've seen things that I don't necessarily agree with, but we put to the market, and things have happened that would otherwise have been my decision to make, and then wouldn't have had that objective outside perspective for it. So, for example, burning the treasury of Meta tokens was a proposal that was put up that I didn't necessarily agree with and traded against, but the markets prevailed on that, and the burning instruction occurred through the mechanism of Futarchy.
Right.
We've seen people try to manipulate our markets, and we've seen that fail. So we have an example, at least, to fight manipulation, even if it's not an early example. And then we had a proposal recently to build a pump.fund competitor that would be governed under Futarchy with a token, and that failed as well. So these are all things that if I don't have a clear direction,
right,
then putting it up to a proposal and then getting the market to weigh in has been really interesting to see how I can make decisions, how you can direct my energies in this ecosystem, in this sphere. And I think that's been probably some of the most recent ones. Just to give some, we have forks on EVM now popping up.
Oh,
so that if that brings any kind of credibility to it, the fact that this is interesting to other people, that there are people that are trying to build this, in Ethereum land.
Yeah.
Certainly probably speaks to that. I think also we've seen how token voting isn't really working for a lot of people, or in many cases doesn't work for people, and how frustrating that can be. So we have a governance structure that is crypto native that we all have frustrations with. So this is an attempt to take it
to improve upon sort of regular
yes.
token voting.
And just to be clear here, this is not a 100% perfect solution, right? Like you can bring up a lot of arguments. We'll probably bring them up here.
Yeah.
But any argument you bring up against this, you can bring back to token voting as well at the same time.
Yeah.
But we see this as a stepwise increase, at least getting better.
So can we talk about, so everybody here should be familiar with token voting, right? There's sort of like canonical example is something like Jupiter, right? Vote and then it passes or it fails, right? And depending on sort of like how much jupe you have, you get a better share of the vote, right? And what are some of the problems with this model, right? Like why? Because like the default, if Sanctum were not to adopt Futaki, right, the default would be to adopt some sort of token voting, and it would look a lot like regular sort of like Jupiter style token voting, right? And what are kind of like some of the potential problems with that in your opinion?
I think Jupiter's an interesting case study because you do have high participation. I think I calculated it was like over 20% of total tokens that were in circulation that actually participated in voting.
Yeah.
You don't typically have that in token voting, right? Like that's non-typical. So what do you have to do in that case?
This thing sucks, man. This thing. Okay. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's get 1 second.
You're good.
Okay. So you're saying, so Jupiter has high participation.
Yes.
Rate, and that is quite rare.
Yeah. It's abnormal.
It's abnormal.
And
abnormally good.
Yes. In a great way, right? Like this is like probably how these things should work, right? Like ultimately.
But what's the problem with? Well, first of all, like Sanctum is going to be abnormally good as well.
Yes.
But tell me a little bit more about like what's the problem with like low participation rate?
Yeah. So you have to set a quorum for token voting, right?
Yeah.
And you have to set it high enough that you can't have a malicious attacker come in and get malicious proposals through. So when you do that, though, you need to have that guarantee that at least 1%, 2% of total token supply is going to come up and vote, right? So what people have done is they've created these huge windows of proposal drafting, review, right? You have to have 30 days for somebody to review, comment. Then you have a 5-day vote. And then you have to reach quorum. So what we've seen people do is create delegates, right? Aligned parties that will show up and vote, and they have a substantial portion, enough to at least reach quorum in many cases. And even getting delegates to vote can be painful, right? Like these are individual people. So you have to deal with all of that, and that is slow, right? That is incredibly slow, especially if you need to move fast.
Okay.
Now, Jupe had a 4-day vote. They had that high turnout. That's, not necessarily the status quo. I think the other thing that you have here is you've got whales that are with you as long as they're with you, right? If they have 51% of the vote, you have to deal with them as long as they have that amount of vote. And you can see that with Mango markets right now. So the idea here is that you have, for example, some party that controls a large percentage of the token, enough to reach quorum, and they're able to push through a vote that isn't in the interest of the minority token holders. Right? Yeah, you could disagree with it. I mean, we've seen the contention in Mango, right? Like there's a huge divergence. There was a settlement with the SEC, and then a complete, we're not going to adhere to that at all, right? They issued new tokens after the SEC said you have to get all the tokens back. You can't list them. So that just kind of shows that one party went one way and this is the way to do it, and then another party goes another way, and it's highly contentious in that way, and it comes down to who has the most money in that case, right?
So it comes down to who has the most money, right? So I am kind of okay, well, so these are the kind of issues with token voting. Do you have anything else to add, or are those
No, I think that's probably where we're.
Well, then I would say markets also seem to come down to who has the most money, right? So. And okay, so but you've kind of explained to me why sort of Futaki might be better, right? And so I'm going to try to explain sort of how Futaki works, right? So this, one of the questions when I read this is okay, well, this this Futaki, there's a pass and fail market, and then okay, and if it passes, it's the pass market. The fail is a fail market. But I never really kind of like understood like how it's supposed to resolve. Like how is it actually supposed to work to get at the truth or something? So it's what like I understand that it's not a betting market.
No.
Right? So it's not like a so
you're not trying to predict.
Yeah.
You're speculating.
Okay, so Futarki is not a prediction market.
Yes, it is not a prediction market.
Right, and so it's different from like, is Donald Trump going to win the 2024 election?
Yes, because that has a definitive outcome and a definitive time.
Right.
Right.
So okay, so it's like so is Donald Trump going to win the 2024 election? Right. This is not a good question for Futaki. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not. Unless we said who should win the 2024 election and had two markets, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
So,
right?
So it's right. So who should win the 2024 election? Better question.
Yeah, for Futarki, because then that whoever was trading at a higher price in that case would be.
So Futarki is meant to answer the ought question.
Yes.
Right. Like ought we to do.
Yes.
X or ought
yes.
we to do Y.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And so and the idea, right, is that, and the idea is that the passing, the passing market, or like yes or no, right, gives us the ought, right?
Yes.
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 Okay. So it's like, so if like should Sanctum sort of run for, like should Colin run for president, for example?
Yes.
And then if it's yes, then the idea is that you should go and take the decision because the market thinks that. Yes.
Right. And you could have a lot that comes into that, right? Like, is Colin politically savvy? Does he have the resolve to make it through an election? Does he have the social presence to be on camera and do any of this stuff, right? And all of that information, what are markets great at? It's great at resolving to a singular data point. Right. So all these questions that you have in your mind are it's all information and coding that comes into a price, and that's what's cool about markets.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So there. Let's just quickly check if we have any questions. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Cool. So I kind of like, so basically before this, like I kind of like sat through with Colin and we kind of like I try to understand like how does this like pass fail market actually works. So I'm gonna give like basically gonna dump back what he told me to you guys, and you're gonna correct me when I make sort of any mistakes. Yeah. So how I think it kind of works is, okay, I'm gonna take like, I wish this pen could work well. It doesn't work well. Just forget it. Oh, now my mouse is not working. Are you kidding? Okay, there we go. Okay, so we start with we seed the market, right? So the first step is to how do we do that? Okay, so the first step is to initialize. Is this? Do you call it like a proposal?
Yeah,
proposal.
Proposal.
Right? And then it's like this is a vault, right? With money in it.
Yes.
So let's say we were to make a decision. We were trying to make a decision about cloud. So we would see this vault with like maybe let's say 1 million USDC, right, and 1 million cloud. Yeah, for example. And let's say cloud is assume cloud is at $1, which would be great.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, and so we've kind of sort of settled the vault. And what's the purpose of this vault?
So this vault is what is claimable. So this is your bank, right? This is the bank for the proposal, in essence. So from the vault, what you can do is you create these conditional tokens, right? And we've talked about this, but we can go through this with it. But this vault is the seed from which everything else is created. Yeah. So let's kind of what I understand is that you can, so the vault has been seeded, and this gives you the initial liquidity for people to start playing around and play around with the market. Correct. From here, we create the conditional tokens, and then we create the two AMMs for the two markets.
Right.
Right.
So there are kind of like two things that can happen from here, right? So one is that you deposit USDC, right?
Mm-hmm.
and then there's another you can deposit cloud.
Yep.
Right. Or I mean, deposit cloud, and this is not you're not buying, right?
No,
yeah,
you're not buying.
You're not buying it. Just depositing. You can deposit single side or both sides, obviously.
Correct.
Right. And then the interesting thing is that you get, let's say you now you have like one fail USDC.
Yeah.
Which is fail, and then one pass USDC.
Correct.
Right. And when you deposit cloud, you get one fail cloud, and then you get one pass cloud. And so you can use these pass and fail. So with these pass and fail tokens, you can go and trade in the two different markets.
Yes.
So now you're saying, okay, there's like a pass market, right? And this will be how, right? So you have PUSDC and P cloud.
Yep.
Right. And then you have the fail market. I'm so slow. Sorry, guys. Which is the FUSDC and F cloud. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And we've,
how much money is in each?
So it's 1 mil. It's the same configuration as the vault from the start.
Right. So it's 1 million and 1 million.
Yep.
Well, obviously, if someone deposits in, then
yes,
it will be more,
it'll be
right?
different. But this is what we do when we initialize a proposal.
Okay.
So we create these, we mint the conditional tokens, and we set up the AMMs, and that's what effectively creates a proposal.
Right. So a proposal is the vault, and then it's these two conditional markets.
Yes.
And the key is that only one of these will actually be, the trading will actually only happen on one. Well, it happens, but then one is sort of like rolled back, and it never happened.
Yes.
And one of it, will be executed.
Yes.
Okay.
So one market is resolved.
Right.
And the other market is reverted. So only one of these is claimable against the vault. Right.
So only one, right, is claimable. And so the idea here is that, well, you couldn't claim both because then it would add up to more than
yes,
the vault has, right? And so, okay, so what does it mean? Why do you need these two markets, right? Why can't you just have like one market? Right? Why do you need these two markets?
Yeah. So what you're doing is, like, again, going back to like markets,
right,
is your information encoding in both of these markets, right?
Right.
So you're saying if this were to pass, if and only if this passes, right, what is the value of cloud, right? Because of the AMM configuration. And if and only if this fails, what is the value of cloud based on the AMM configuration? So what's really cool here is, even if, right, it passes, you still can get a value of what cloud would be worth if it were to fail.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I get what you mean. What cloud would be worth counterfactually, right?
Yeah.
It fails. So the idea, okay. So I think to be clear, this resolves into 1:1. But I think what you mean here, right, by like, oh my god, what the hell is that? No, I don't want this. Sorry. Delete. So I want to. So, but the idea is, okay, so the value of cloud is given by, so for example, right, you're like, let's say sort of there's been lots of trading and so on, and these numbers will change, right?
Yep.
So and the idea is, let's say, what are some sort of reasonable numbers here?
Let me pull out the calculator. I mean, we can go extreme.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
Then if you do like $500,000.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't matter. But like but I think we need to know, like, so for example, maybe here it would be 3M USDC and 0.5 M cloud, and then maybe the fail market would be 0.5 million and 3 million F cloud or something like this, right? And so the idea is that one cloud, right, is equals to $6, right? $6 USDC, right? And here you would have one cloud is equal to, oh gosh, 0.1/6.
Yeah. 0.16.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and so the idea is, so what information is this giving us? Yeah. So okay, people have traded and blah blah blah, and this has happened. What does this mean?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to interpret this?
Yeah. So it's effectively saying if you make this decision, and in this case it could be to burn 30% of token supply.
Right.
In our case, we burn 99% of token supply.
Right.
It's saying that if that decision were to be
If
made,
the proposal to make decision X passes,
yes,
then one cloud will equal to $6 USDC.
yeah, or somebody is willing to pay up to $6 for it. Like it is worth, like this decision is increasing the value of cloud by $5 per token.
Fails, then one cloud equals to 1/6 of 0.16.
Yeah, so this is a very polarizing decision here, right? Like the fact that if you don't do this is so significant.
Right. So this means the market thinks that.
Yes.
Right. This is not true. This is the market
Yes.
thinks that.
Yes.
If the proposal to make decision X passes, then US, and therefore, right. And this obviously implies that we should make this decision.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You should go through with the action.
Right. And so that's the way in which we would get the data, right? So we would ask people to please perform this trading, right? And the idea is that, okay, given what we said, assume that the market is smart and makes good decisions, then I can use this interpretation as like, okay, this means that I should definitely take this decision because it's likely that the market believes that the price will go up. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. So then maybe let's talk a little bit about this trading, right? Because this looks like a game to me. Like, why can't somebody? And then there are these guarantees about like manipulation and things like that, right? And maybe we can talk a little bit about like why this works, because like it's not clear, right, from this. Okay, like we've understood the idea, like what it's supposed to say, right? Now,
Yes.
how does it actually work in practice?
Yes.
So could we maybe walk through like a proposal of like why this is robust and has the guarantees that it does?
Yeah. So why don't we walk through? Do you want to walk through like having a perspective on a proposal? Like if this proposal passes, I believe the price of cloud will go up 100%, and then like how?
Yeah, let's think a little bit about the trader's perspective, right? Like, why would anyone trade in these past markets and fail, and how would they get to this point? And I think that would be like a great example.
Yes.
So maybe we can start from there.
So why do traders trade?
Yes.
Traders trade to make money,
Yes.
right? So and traders trade off information asymmetry, right? Imbalance of information. So if you have alpha, then you tend to trade that alpha and make money, right? And if you don't make money, you don't participate very long in the trading activity.
You continue to live, right?
Yeah.
If you are wrong, you lose money, you exit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like base premise for markets, base premise for this, these all hold true because it's a market in this case.
Okay.
Right. So if you're trading poor decisions, then your value will go down over time. If you're trading good decisions, you have more capital to trade.
If you trade poor decisions, you lose money, and vice versa.
Yeah. So you are, as a trader, you are in the business of making good decisions now because we've aligned you with the market.
So actually now we actually didn't think about what happens and why would, like, how, okay, so we've done this and then like only one is claimable. Okay, let's say this claimable. Who loses the money? Who gains the money? Let's talk through that decision, right? So like I want to take through like a sort of trader's perspective. So let's go back kind of like to the past market and the fair market, right? And we know that only one is claimable, but we're at this point like we don't, right? And should we go through like one example of like how the markets would eventually resolve to that?
Yes.
Yeah, to one outcome.
Yes.
So from what I understand, right? Let's say you really believe. Okay, so let's say the example proposal. What's an example proposal? You wanted the Sanctum should burn 30% of cloud.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the idea? So you're a trader, right?
Yeah.
So a trader comes in, trader believes that it is bullish.
Yes.
And it will 10x cloud or whatever.
Yeah, you could say 10x, or you could say like, you know, and we'll use 10x here because it gives us good round numbers.
Right.
But like, you know, 30% number there is right there, right?
Right.
So if you look at fully diluted value, you
Right.
could come up with a calculation that says $1 cloud is undervalued in this case, right?
Some value, like you know, do your homework.
Yeah.
Homework.
Yeah.
And find your actual estimate, right?
Yeah, which is your alpha, right, in here,
Which is-
right? Like maybe it's not 30%, maybe it's an actual like 10% increase, right?
Right.
And you're willing.
Might be,
So we start with a $1 price
Yeah.
of cloud. You say it's going to 10x cloud, which means that, you know, the past market is a conditional market that is if and only if we burn cloud, am I willing to buy or sell?
What price am I willing to pay for cloud?
Yes.
That's the idea.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And this is very similar to the previous question, but this is from the trader's perspective,
Yes.
right? So not I burn cloud, but like you know, 30% of cloud is burned, right? Which is in the proposal. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so okay, so let's say so maybe we should move. Yeah, that should be the order, right?
Yeah.
And so okay, so now I'm a trader, right? Now I've deposited into the vault, right? So I've got, you know, whatever, I've got like 100 grand USDC, I've got 100. So what am I? So I'm depositing USDC, or am I depositing cloud?
So in this case, you're depositing USDC because you want to buy cloud,
Okay.
right? Because you want to buy conditional cloud, right? Cloud on this condition.
So cloud on the past market is currently worth $1.
Yes.
One USDC.
Yes.
Now I think
You think it's worth 10?
if the proposal passes, it's worth 10.
Yes.
Therefore, I should buy cloud on the past market.
Yeah.
Which is P cloud.
Yeah.
Right. So then what I do, then I will. So the trader then will deposit. So what the trader would. Sorry, I'm just. You know, the thing about giving these lectures is that I never know if people are following. So like we could be like just rambling. But the idea, okay, so let's say this trader would come in and he would come in with USDC, right? And he will buy the cloud.
Yes.
So maybe so he wouldn't touch the fail. So the fail market here is untouched.
Yes.
Right. So untouched. Okay. Right. And he is buying here. So he's putting in, let's say, 1 million USDC. Right. So buying 1 million USDC and minus the cloud. Okay. So this will become something like 2 million USDC, right? Right? Would this would be 2 million USDC, right? And 0.
Yeah. Something crazy.
0. Whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he'd come in and buy, right? This.
Yep.
So now, like the trader, how much does the trader have? The trader has
no USDC.
Zero. Well, he has 0 past USDC,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he has 1 million fail USDC, right? And this is actually important, right? Because when he So this one confused me when I first started. I was like, where is this coming from? And it turns out because if you look at this vault deposit, right? So in order for the trader to get the million USD, when he deposited like an extra million in USDC, he will get both these things, right?
Yes.
And so he has 0 PUSDC because he used all of it to buy the cloud. And then he has the 1 million FUSDC because he didn't touch this market at all. And importantly, he has the rest of the cloud, right? Whatever he bought, P cloud, right?
Yep.
And so this is like the important part.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So then okay. So this is the trader's sort of like tentative P&L. And let's say now we have 2 cases, right? Okay. So now the past market is like P cloud. What does this mean? So cloud is equal to, how much is this worth? $4. 4, right? And this is 1.
1.
Right. So what does this mean? So it means that proposal passes, right? So then what happens? So he would.
So now that vault still has the 2 million USDC, and then still has the cloud, right? Because we've still done it, but he's pulling out.
Okay.
If it passes,
vault passes.
Well, the proposal passed. The vault still exists irrespective.
Vault has 2 million USDC and 1 million cloud.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because it's because people are not actually really trading.
Yeah.
Right? It's like synthetic trading.
Yes.
It's synthetic trading, right? Okay, so how can the trader withdraw?
So now the proposal ends, it's passed,
right?
And so now those 0.5 million P cloud are redeemable against the vault.
Redeemable against the vault.
Yep.
So you get 500K. Well, what about the 1 million FUSDC?
So the FUSDC, because the proposal passed, all of that activity is reverted, right? So it's no longer, it's like it never happened, right? So the FUSDC is useless in this case.
Right. So because so okay, but so the trader managed to buy 0.5 cloud at
500K.
Well, 500K cloud at 1 million, so at $2 each.
Yeah.
Well, for 1 million USDC, it's like so he paid $2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And if the proposal fails?
If the proposal fails,
very So okay, so this is the proposal fails.
Yes.
Right. And so here the redeemable are not redeemable.
Yeah, are not redeemable.
Are not redeemable against the vault, so it's like 0.
Yep.
What about that 1 million FUD?
That is redeemable.
Because the proposal failed, right? That is redeemable. That is redeemable.
Yeah, and it's like pass never happened, right? Like that 500K pass cloud.
So trader gets his 1 million USDC back.
Yep, correct.
Okay, and so now, this. So this is a trader's perspective, and where does the making money come in, right?
Yeah.
So in this example, we've understood that this is how a person would come to express a view, right? Now we've had this proposal, right? That says Sanctum should burn 30% of cloud. You think that it's going to be bullish. What you have done is that you've deposited into the vault. You've bought the past market and essentially voted yes, right? And now you've bought cloud at sort of like, the past you bought it at $2.
Yes.
Where is the making money part?
Yes. So you go and burn. Now Sanctum goes and burns 30% of the cloud tokens.
Yes.
Right. And if the thesis holds true, right, that now there's no longer the FDVs now different, right. So do people start to flood in now because this has been whatever the trader knew, right? Hey, this is good because it showcases the long-term efforts of the team. This is good because what else would we allocate it for? There was no general purpose. So in theory, right, you're driving the value up. And so they could sit there and say, I bought it at $2. Did my thesis hold that cloud is now at $4? And now I can sell it at $4.
Right. Okay. So the idea is that, so the idea is that the proposal passed, right? And then you're able to kind of like, if the proposal passes and it does indeed go to, $100 or whatever, then you've now gotten the price of $2 and you're able to sell it at a profit.
Yes.
Why couldn't you just buy that spot?
Yeah, so that's the case here, right? You could have bought it at spot there, right? But you'd still drive the token value up, right? And we saw that happen with Uniswap. As soon as the proposal for the fee switch came out, the value of Uniswap shot up, right? So if you just use a decision market to turn on the fee switch, right? You would have done that much earlier, and the token value would have gone up in that case, right? So like people did go buy the spot on a proposal, and that did drive the price up. So in this case, spot may converge, but because you're trading this conditional market that started at $1, right? You're willing to pay $2, even if the price of it's going up to $4, right? In the spot market, because this is an independent market from the spot market. So its price could diverge from the spot market. This is only where cloud is worth $1 right now, because it could be this proposal's out and it looks like it's going to pass. So people have bought up the spot market already.
Right. So for example, if it's like 5 minutes before this market passes and it's like this, and people think that, okay, that means and it provided the sanctum actually follows through, right? Then people would start to buy the spot because they in anticipation.
Yes.
Of the
or because you're early. This is a 3-day, in our case, we use 3-day proposals.
Right. You
can do any variant of that, but say it's a 5-day proposal. So 5 days, you don't know whether it's going to pass, but as a trader, you could say, I have high confidence and I'm willing to put risk, right? I'm willing to onboard risk. Whereas as it becomes more certain, these converge.
Will converge.
Right. So like this is as a trader's perspective, this is, how I would be thinking about it, or in this case, how we think about it.
Right. Can we think about sort of like, let's talk a little bit about how sort of like Ben tried to manipulate the meta market, and let's think about sort of like how, this actually helps us to, because, okay, so now we've put this to a vote essentially, and people have bought and sold and so on. And it's like, and what is the idea? Like, how does this actually make a good decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking a little bit about, whereupon one of the early meta holders, Ben, right, was trying to sort of essentially say, give me all the meta for free or for a very low price.
Yes.
And then how did this system actually prevent that?
Yes.
So in regular token voting.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Tell us first the story.
Yes.
What happened? Yes.
Yes. So Ben Hawkins, who's at the Solana Foundation now, but he was acting as an independent party.
Right.
Discovered this and said, I want to stress test this, because he was convinced that he could manipulate the market and get what he wants. Mm-hmm. Right. So what happened was he created a proposal for MetaDAO to take from the treasury and transfer him an amount of meta that was the equivalent of, I think, $30 at the time, and meta was trading at $90 at the time.
So proposal sell Ben meta at
$30,
1/3 market price.
Yes. So, which is not a good deal for the DAO.
Obviously, a bad decision.
Yeah, right. It's not a good deal for the DAO, but there's certainly value, right? Like that you could do. You could assess and say Ben is a great community member. Like,
if we give him that, he's gonna give it all to charity. He's gonna take it to the moon. So potentially.
So what Ben?
Maybe not. Obviously.
Yes.
Potentially. Bad decision.
I mean, it's not good for the DAO, right? Like you don't want to sell at a discount, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but bad for the DAO.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did Ben do? Like, what did he try? How did he try to manipulate the market?
So he manipulated the pass price.
Okay.
Of the pass market, right? So he manipulated the pass market, and to do that meant driving the price of this passing up.
Okay, because Ben wants to pass.
Yes.
He needs pass market more than fail market.
Yes.
Right? So what did he do exactly? So Ben deposited USDC.
Yep, deposit USDC.
250K USDC.
And
right, he got 250K of PUSDC and 250K of fail USDC.
Yes.
And what did he do?
So then what he did, he was buying in the pass market above spot price of meta. So he was buying meta at, say, $200, right?
So basically, so the 250K PUSDC, right, into to get the P meta.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
X sum.
Yeah.
X sum. Yeah. X.
Yeah.
But why did he buy above the spot price? Like, couldn't he just
So like a sophisticated participant
Right.
wouldn't necessarily do that, right? But you're trying to manipulate the market, right? Like this is an egregious example, right? So
Right.
what was happening is people were then buying Meta on the spot market, which is driving the price of spot Meta up, right? And then selling into Ben at a premium. Ben is paying top dollar, right? So what I can do is I can say if he's willing to buy at 250, and I can buy it from the market at 100, I can go sell it to him for 250, and I can lock in $150 profit.
So if Ben is buying P Meta at 250, buy Meta for 100, sell P Meta to Ben at 250. That's the idea.
Yeah. And that's what people were doing constantly, because he's sitting there, because if he doesn't defend that higher price, then people will come in and continue, to sell the proposal down, right?
So this drives down the price of Meta, the past
Meta
market,
right? So he has to step back in and drive it back up in price.
Ben has to come back in and buy it up, otherwise proposal won't pass.
Yes.
Right. And so this is kind of like the arbitrage condition, right? So this
is where it's very clear that you could be making money, and that somebody is manipulating, right? This act of manipulation is there, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. Because so the idea is that you have a very strong thesis that giving Ben lots of Meta for below market price is not a good idea, and maybe you don't even have a strong thesis, but you know that it's definitely not going to double the price of Meta if you give Ben lots of Meta. And so the idea is that you can just buy So what you do is you buy Meta, with USDC. You now have P Meta and fail Meta, and then you give the P Meta back as you sell the P Meta back into the AMM to push the price down. But you're also taking Ben's PUSDC.
Yes. And so Ben, a well-capitalized participant, right, only has 250K. Maybe he doesn't want to spend 251,000. Right. So as soon as his 250K was exhausted, the price came back down. Right. So as soon as that's done, right, like it could be $1 million, it could be whatever. But there is a price there because Ben was getting 1/3. Of the price. So he probably, if you calculated it, right, like he's only willing to spend so much money, and then for how long can he hold that is the big question there. So you could, like even as a counterparty to this trade, you could say, if this does pass, there's no way Meta is going to be worth between 1/3 and this price. So you could still sell into that pass market because you think the value is going to be lower.
Explain that again. So
So that he's getting a bunch of Meta for 1/3 the current market price. Right. So if you calculated the difference between the current market price and what Ben's going to get, if the proposal were to pass, the price of Meta is somewhere between those two. Right. So you're willing to buy spot Meta, right, to push it down in the pass market even lower than what the current spot is. Right. Because spot is showing an example of it's a premium. Right. So the ARB is the other way around.
I see.
Right. Yeah. Because if the proposal passes, you think that the value of Meta is going to go down, and then you would have sold at a premium at that point. Right.
I see. Okay. Cool. This makes. So hopefully this helps to explain. It was a very technical deep dive. I want a little bit to go to like the questions, right? So let's go back to the big picture. Right now what did we already do? Now So the idea of Futaki, right, is that it is supposed to help us make better decisions, right? It is not a prediction market, but it helps to solve a little bit of the problems with regular token voting, right? Which is that it's slow and that it could be manipulated, right? By large whales, right? And then we explain the sort of like the nitty-gritty of how exactly the passing and the failing market works, the perspective of a particular trader, and here's an example of why sort of like trying to manipulate the market in a way is not. It can be sort of like
and just for context here, the market cap of Meta, right, like was maybe $1 million.
Oh,
so over 250,000 in total trade volume on this market that ultimately didn't resolve. Right, it didn't pass.
Right, so Ben lost 250.
Well, he didn't lose, right, because remember,
because it didn't. I see.
He had failed.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
So he didn't lose his money. He just lost his attempt to
see.
manipulate a
I
proposal.
see.
Right.
But is that good then? Then in edit, everybody has like a costless way to try and manipulate the market.
Well, I mean, that's 250K that's locked up,
I see.
right? And then if it does pass, then
Right.
it is exhausted, right?
Right.
So now he has a bunch of meta that's worth less in
Yeah,
theory,
because he overpaid
right?
for it.
Yeah. And you could use an egregious example. Say there's $1 million in the treasury,
Right.
send $1 million to me.
All of it.
Yeah, you're probably not willing to spend more than $1 million to
Right.
get that to go through, right?
Right.
So even your cost of manipulation has a cap,
Right.
right? Maybe it's 900,000 because you're willing to take 100,000, right?
But then nonetheless, right, like it becomes almost risk-free to manipulate, right? So I spend up to 999, right, K in order to manipulate, and if it doesn't pass, like what have I lost? I've lost nothing.
Yeah, right? I guess it comes down to your intention and your appetite for risk, right? So what is the cost value of that cash, right? Because you need to find $990,000.
Yeah.
And then you got to put it in a market.
Yeah.
And if it does succeed, is that even worth the $10,000 that
Right.
it costs you $999K to
Maybe
make
opportunity cost. I suppose.
Yes. So you gotta get in the mind of the manipulator there and say,
Okay.
you're only going to make so many of those choices and have it go through, right?
Okay, let's move on. I'm really conscious of the time, so let's look at sort of the community questions, and hopefully we can sort of answer them. Okay, so how is it different from regular voting? So I think we've done that. How is it manipulated? How is it resistant to manipulation? Well, we've kind of explained how it sort of, the market participants are now incentivized to kind of buy back the token, right, and sell it to the participant at a higher price to lock in the profits. And hopefully we can answer this guy's question. So what do we think about? Oh, we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, let's go through.
Let's first start with like a very high level question by sort of Bang Shao. What are the plus and minuses of futarchy? Do you have a slide for this, right?
I don't know that I put it in there.
Okay, never mind. So what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, so just talking about regular token voting, right? Like you don't have to do a roadshow for every proposal, right? Every proposal doesn't have to take 30 days, and you don't necessarily need a ton of participants to come out to get information encoded in market, right? If you have two parties, right, the market creates that mechanism for price, right? So if you had just two people trading it and that's a perfect price and you agree with that price, you don't actually have to trade or do anything, right? You don't have to tag in your vote or do anything else, right? It's going to pass. This makes sense. This is priced accurately. My job's done, right? So you can be passive there. I think you don't run into issues where you have like delegates, or the fact that delegates have to exist is so antithetical to crypto, right? Like this, let's just go higher, right? Okay. Why are we all here with crypto? Right. Like it provides all these things, right? Like these things are there, and the fact that we have to do that and that is still troublesome is quite.
Well, I think if we were to try and do it in Sanctum, then we would want to we would try to get like really high vote participation, like in Jupiter's case, and make it as exciting as fun.
Yeah.
And one of the kind of like the worries I think that a lot of people have is that futarchy is so complicated, right? We've taken a fucking hour to explain, this, and it's like and people, and there's real money at stake, which is like the point, but it also means that it becomes challenging for people who want to participate.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's just go back to that, right? Like if you don't have a stake in the vote, right? If you just own tokens, you were airdropped these tokens, right? Yeah. Right. Like who says you're an informed party to begin with? Right. Like who says you share alignment with any of this? And if you don't have any risk to take on, how can you participate in effective decision making? Right. If I'm just going to do the Keynesian beauty contest and vote how everybody else is going to vote, then like objectively we haven't created this ecosystem where you can do this stuff. So I think that's like an important highlight there. But I think that you get into that for sure. And one of the negatives is you're taking away participation for people.
Yes.
right? Like people want to vote, they want to showcase something, and I think that that's one of those things. But to be fair, I think we've seen a lot of people participate, have the light bulb go off, and be like, "This is fun," right? Like that you have this component of I'm doing something here. So I don't know that like that's been definitively determined, but people are hesitant to use it, right? Absolutely. Right. I think that let me pull up this real quick, just because we have it. We talked about minority shareholder protection, but I don't think we should go into that right now.
Okay.
This is like pie in the sky stuff, but Ethereum was determined not to be a security, right, because of sufficient decentralization, right? In here, right, we'd be hard pressed to say that like there's not a lever to pull to control a lot of stuff in these current token mechanisms. Sure. And Futarchy definitely provides that, right, in a regulatory landscape that could say that. It could pave the way for that, for people that care about that. And I think the cons is it's like, you can lose money, right? If you're a poor trader, you can lose money. Yeah. And that's very different from token voting.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, got it. Let's move on maybe to next. Stupid fucking mess. Okay, there we go. We're back. Okay, so before I tackle this question, it's a big question. But okay, so we've done this one, right? So that is like here, right here, and maybe let's look at okay, we've done these as well. Okay, what about this one, right? It's like you need state cloud to vote, but what would be used as the currency is like you don't need state cloud, do you?
No, you wouldn't need it. There are ways to do that, right? Like you could trade VE cloud, right? Like if you were going to do staked token, you could technically you can trade anything in these markets, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be.
So the betting currency would be USDC and cloud. Right?
Or VE cloud in this case, right? You deposit your.
Well, what would be the idea of using VE cloud? I mean, like
if you wanted to stake, but like what is staking, right? Outside of like reducing volatility.
Game, right?
Yeah. So you could do that. You absolutely could. So there's opportunities to like expand this. We just haven't done it, and like adding complexity at this stage is probably
too much complexity.
And I will say, crypto people are they're very good at learning things because look at the wallet experience, like in crypto. It's terrible, but you figured it out, right? Like you guys have figured it out, and it's so like I don't think that it's not able to be done. I think that there's some interesting things that you could do for incentivizing trading, right? You could pay people to trade. So you could do stuff with that.
So incentivize people to trade.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So in the passing market, give extra cloud or give like how does that work?
Yeah. So you could put in like a maker rebate, right? So you could trade. You could pay people for volume that they traded. You could pay people around price that they've provided. There's a lot of different stuff there, right? Like because if you get good decisions made,
right, that's worth something.
Absolutely, right.
When people trade in this synthetic market, is there any slippage of fee at all?
So we have a 1% fee on the pool, right, for people that want to provide it, right? But we currently are the people that provide liquidity for it, and we accept 100% of IL in there, right? Because it's still sensitive to the spot price volatility, right? So but there's no reason that you couldn't, an organization couldn't incentivize traders through some mechanism.
Right. Would it change if we were to say I'll give like extra cloud to like the market that resolves? Yeah. Would that fuck things up?
It could, but like you got to think that if you don't have a certainty on which market's going to resolve, then you get high information efficacy in both markets, and that's the ideal scenario, because you want to
Yeah,
know.
but would it fuck up the sort of like the arbitrage property? There's some like very
Absolutely.
sensitive.
Yeah. I think we really have to sit down and think about it. But like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that like this is just a base case.
But
this is the worst example.
Okay, but you could definitely put in a maker rebate, right? But what even is a maker rebate? I mean, like it's because it's already free to trade, no?
Well, you've got the 1% fee assessed,
right? But that's not that's the okay.
at the pool.
Yeah,
so you could
pool.
rebate
You rebate
people
that.
1% fee, right?
Got
In cloud,
Got
right? Like, so you don't have to do USDC, you
Right.
do cloud,
I
right?
got it.
And you could do time weighted average price over a 7-day period.
Makes
Like
sense.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But I do agree, right? Like part of, but what are we trying to solve with staking? And staking is locking up tokens to express yourself. So I agree with that. But then also you're just trying to reduce sell pressure, right? And that's what staking is designed for, right? So like at the end of the day, like utility is probably far more useful than like just simple staking, but
right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it does make sense, right? But staking, I mean, staking is not always necessarily about that, right? Like for example, in Solana, staking has a purpose of actually providing sort of like
utility. Fundamental utility,
economic security.
Yeah.
So okay. So what about this, right? Like, have you guys implemented any specific measures to protect against vulnerabilities, hacks? And then the second one is how MetaDAO plans to foster community engagement and growth. Yeah. Could you answer these?
Yeah. So, we've had the smart contracts audited. Anytime we make changes or improve stuff, we audit that. We do, once audit's complete, we do iterate in immutability, right? Like, so like Ethereum more so than Solana. So our contracts are immutable as we transition through. So,
wait, how do you make changes to an immutable?
We don't. You migrate.
Okay.
You migrate everything. So those are.
Jeez, that sounds like a lot of work. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So if we need to make improvements, that's how that's done. Right now, we have continued to contribute $100,000 every month from the capital raise we did under contract control. So we're at 400,000, I think, right now. So that's under contract. So over time under contract times money is trust, right? So like nobody's manipulated it yet, and we are the ones that are dogfooding this. And
so more and more of the treasury will be controlled by Twitter.
Yes, and it's like attacks and those kinds of things. Like the money that's there will get people to try to attack that stuff, and obviously, right? Like we want to be able to have that understanding first and foremost in what we're doing.
Okay, well, people will have more of an incentive to stress test. Or exploit. Okay.
And we've got some safeguards in there, right? To create a proposal requires initial capital or liquidity. So you can't just get people to spam. Right now, fortunately or unfortunately, it's 30 meta and $100,000 to create a meta proposal right now.
How much is that worth?
So I think that's like 230,000 or something to create a proposal, right? But like you've got money under contract, right, at that point. So you've got to kind of figure that stuff out. But so spam is prevented by the malicious proposer would have to provide liquidity, and how much could they provide? And then we have monitoring on chain through all of our systems to make sure that like if something's funky going on, we make sure that that's there.
What about community engagement and growth? Actually, I think Prophet does like a fantastic job. He does this whole cosplay thing.
I'll say of the 4 Ethereum people that have created forks, Prophet has spoken to them within the past 2 months.
Really?
So like I think he's convinced them of futarchy. So there we go. I think what's interesting here is that like we have people that trade markets that aren't in these DAOs, right? So we have people that are trading OR proposals that didn't have OR before, just because they're seeking profit, right? Like they're correcting mispricings. We've seen somebody create an ARB bot. So people are programmatically trading these markets now. And then like people are very eager to trade more proposals. So you've got a community of traders now that are just waiting for proposals. And I think that is a very different expansionary experience for DAOs, right? Like you have people that weren't necessarily interested in your project, but are trading your decisions.
Right. I mean, and that could be a good or bad thing, right? And I think one of the things that, like, to digress a little bit, like one of the things is, like, for example, we spoke about Jupyter, and this is like a very controversial vote, right? The gist of it, for anyone who's not familiar, is that Meow, the Jupyter team wants to kind of like give out sort of like more Jup tokens in 2 more Jupyteries, right? And that has been a very controversial vote, and some people are voting for it because they think it will expand the size of the pie, right, and get a lot more users, and therefore get the price of Jupyter to go up, right? And some people don't think it is, and a lot of people are like, well, if you dilute the supply, if you give out 700 million Jup, right, that's going to dilute my supply of Jup, and the prices, people are going to sell it, and there's going to be downward price action. I don't want to do that, right? And so, like, I suppose one of the issues is that if you welcome a lot of these traders to come in and trade your market, right, is that going to result in a situation where
you can't get something passed?
And that's actually sort of good long term for the protocol, but traders don't think long term. Traders think very short term.
Yeah, they could. I mean, but like you're only in the game. Warren Buffett's a great trader. He's been in the game a long time, right? Like, it's not timing market; it's time in market, right? Like there's an adage for traders, right? Sure. Like so like we can think crypto traders, meme coin traders, but like we're trading these like fundamental organizations that are going to shape the future on chain, right? And so what we're probably going to get is traders that believe in that and are making these investments, and maybe they're bigger, maybe they're institutions, maybe these things.
Right. So you're saying it's not just like stupid traders, and it's it can be
noise.
Very sophisticated.
Yeah, and I don't think that like that's outside of the realm of possibility where we are right now. So.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, wait. Oh shit. I should not have done that. Undo. No. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. But then we can't see. There isn't like the folks. Okay, never mind. Okay, so let's go through kind of like what do you think about this question? Like, leaving decisions. Like, I think this is exactly what we just spoke about. Right? Like, it does feel like once you open the floodgates to traders who don't care about your project at all, right? I mean, okay, let's not say at all, but like they're primarily interested in profit seeking, and then these people are really interested in the price of the project, and they drive, and it's like, it's not. It does kind of feel not so nice. Right?
Yeah. I think that's a valid argument. That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've seen that right now. I mean, I think MetaDAO's had proposals that I thought shouldn't pass, or I thought should pass, and the participants have rightfully or wrongfully, like this is all TBD right now. But you get these people to weigh in, and I think one thing that's very interesting, and we can go through it. If anybody has any questions, DM me. But like if you see some of the activity on our Discord when some of these contentious proposals are going on, is that people are like chatting and talking, but like it really doesn't matter. It's all about what's being traded, right? It doesn't matter about the noise or what somebody's saying. It's about who's putting their money where their mouth is for this. And like a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, right? So a DAO should be multiple participants and every participant versus what we have today, which is like teams with significant token supplies that want things to go a certain way and then get aligned parties. So I would argue that we just really haven't seen a true DAO. But I agree. Yeah, like it's definitely scary. And I think it's just something over time that if we've proven that these are better decisions, then you will become comfortable with it. Just like an AMM, right? Like what is an AMM? What does this do? How does this work? Right.
So this is like some sort of new primitive, and we need to try. Well, let's try it out and find out. Okay.
Just to overlay this, like some DAOs are using this, and then they're saying we will use this as a component of our decision making process, right? Like the market will have a say, and we'll weigh that 70% of the total vote, right? Like you could say that, right?
Right.
Or we have override authority. Right?
So here's something I think that leads us kind of like to this question, right? And like we're not gonna answer this, a very long question, and we'll wrap up very soon, like 5 minutes. But like yeah, I mean the first thing, Futaki seems like a hard concept, like very much so, right?
Yeah, but crypto in general, right? Go explain to your grandmother what you do in a phantom wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying that's good though.
It is definitely a lot more complicated than how Juke has done their vote, like regular token voting, right?
Yep.
I think maybe potentially UI UX could user education,
100%,
like whatever we're doing
100%.
today, right? And then before we come back to question number 2, right? Like what timelines are possible with current technological stack?
Yeah, so like we're ready to go. We're onboarding DAOs
Tomorrow.
yeah. Like honestly, it takes very little to set up a DAO,
right?
And like we're just the gatekeepers on what's displayed on our front end right now,
right?
Because there's no spam protection for DAO creation,
right?
For that. But the proposal creation process is now anybody can create a proposal.
Right.
They have to provide the liquidity. That's the only caveat for it. So that has a front end component to it all. And so, we onboarded Cole in less than 4 hours. So I'm pretty smooth.
So we can it reminds me of when we launched new LSPs as well. We have it smooth. Yeah. When are we voting for this to take in effect? So this, none of this is like, oh, we are definitely going to do Futaki, right? This is like, it's kind of bringing you guys into the conversation that we are having kind of behind the scenes, but putting it in front of the scenes, right? Like Futaki is like a hot thing, right? We're trying to understand, right? I'm trying to understand, right? And so it's not a sure thing, right? And it's like, how we're going to vote, how we're going to think. I think we'll take some time to discuss with the community, right? Think about how it goes. Yeah. Will the community get to see it being built live? Like, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll live stream everything, hopefully. But again, to be clear, right? This is just, we're exploring. We're not like, okay, we're definitely going to do Futaki.
Yeah.
How about mixing 2 types of governance? I think that's a super interesting question.
Yeah.
And one you answered, right?
And that's going on with Jito right now.
Right.
So Jito
what is Jito doing?
Yeah. So Jito had 2 proposals. So they're using Futarchy in 2 ways right now. So the first proposal was to manage their grants program. And that's for their NCNs. And that went through the typical token voting model and was approved. And so Jito is set up within our system to run a particular type of market for awarding grants. And that's on the Jito forums, if anybody's interested there, for that NCN grants. And then they just created a proposal right now to use Jito token to add it as a asset under the restaking program for the TIPS protocol.
Right.
So that's going through traditional token voting, request for comment, then it'll go through traditional token voting, and then it will go to a Futarchy vote. So that's even before they've said, hey, we want to adopt it. They just said, we will honor the decision of the markets, right? So you could do any kind of mix and match for that. I think Dean's List does that as well. They're still doing realms votes and everything else. So.
Okay. Let's just okay. So we've answered this. We've answered these, and and okay, maybe this last question will do. Right?
I'm here.
And it's like, what sort of? So I will maybe rephrase this question a little bit, right? It's like, it's really complex, right? It's very hard. I don't think I would do well, to be honest, right? But it's like, what sorts of decisions, right? Should be under the scope of Futaki, right? And so I think there was another question I don't think I managed to get to, but it's like, well, maybe we don't want to do like product, maybe things like like inconsequential decisions or decisions where I have high confidence that I know best, or questions where there isn't much outside context or things like that, right? So like, what sort of decisions do you envision? Right?
I think we've seen it not work well for low impact decisions, right? Like token voting for low impact decisions doesn't really work well. So that's
things like what should be the wallpaper or the Juke mobile.
Stuff that's not going to affect token price. Absolutely, right? Like that certainly showcases it. The way that I think about Futarchy 2 is that Futarchy can elect a position in power, right? And then Futarchy can control the budget of you, right? They could say FP should be leading the direction of product, but we're going to allocate him $2 million a year to do that, right? And at any point in time, we can kick him off because he hasn't been performing, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to delegate all decision making. It means that you could use it to put people in positions of power so that they can effectively do their job.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you have to step everything in.
Right. So yes, it doesn't have to be like programmatically, like every single code change, right?
Yes.
It's in fact, it's what you guys did, right? They're like, okay, let's give profit and call it like some money, some metadAO, right? And make sure that they can continue to build.
Yes.
That's what you guys did.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that those things are good. I think controversial proposals have been the highest value. Stuff that's hard, maybe doesn't have a clear right or wrong, yes or no. Futarchy proposal was one of those. I mean, we even had a proposal to convert a portion of our treasury to ISC that was fairly contentious, right? This is stuff that I wouldn't have imagined in a million years would have been contentious, right? But like people are in there and they're even asking more questions, right? Because that showcases like how you need to craft proposals. So they're saying, well, how does ISC generate its returns? What's his investing in? Like all these details that go into it, and that's what they're trading, that information. Right. So like stuff that I said, well, this should be a shoe-in, and people are like, hold up, I've got a few other questions. So you get that.
And you get that not through just discussions on the forums, but you get that actually via
why people are trading. Why are you trading this way? Right. And they're coming in there with questions because they may have been an external participant that has never looked at ISC, and now they are. So I think that that's been a very interesting evolution of this. Like somebody's like, hold up, I've got a few questions.
Right. But doesn't this process also work in regular governance forums? Because like if we're trying to do something like, for example, like Jupiter, right? This whole big quote, right? Like many people get very engaged, and they're like, hey, but what about this and what about that? Right? Like, doesn't that same thing happen?
Yeah, for sure. Controversy is going to stimulate a lot of that stuff, but it's interesting to see the outcome, right? Where it's like I would have expected a conversion of 150K into another project for their. But there were some details in there that were like, well, why can't they just mint this new ISC instead of us having to go to the spot market and buy it? These are all things that like weren't crafted in the proposal, but you get that feedback. So you could go back and technically create a more sophisticated proposal that people could trade, right? Or are willing to trade. And I think that that's interesting because you get that price. So you could say, how much do we need to improve this in all technicality for it? So.
Do you ever get, so one last question before, and it's like, do you ever get sort of like bandwagon effects, right? So, like one trader is like convincing and nobody else does the research, but they just kind of like bid out the past market anyway, or like.
I think you still suffer from Keynesian beauty contests for that, for sure. But I think, like you still are asking people to put capital at risk. So I think it fundamentally changes that behavior.
I see.
Like, yes, you can, but are you willing to bet on FP's thesis? Because FP, and he may have already traded it and he may be selling to me, right? Like he may be talking a big game and he may be selling. So I think that's certainly interesting.
Okay, cool. We have gone on really long, I think. And I think like this is like I know we still have like 100 different questions about Futarchy. Right. I think what we're gonna do, I hope this is fine. Like I think maybe we'll open up like a Discord channel, right, to talk about this AMA, talk about the Futarchy, and then we'll be around answering questions. Right. But as of right now, right, people have been here for like an hour plus, and it's not fair to But guys, thank you very much for coming to this AMA presentation, whatever the hell this is. And thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you. To Singapore.
It's awesome.
And we're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's awesome.
Okay. Cheers, guys. Bye. Right. Wait. Can they even see us? We should go back to that. Stop screen sharing. Okay. Bye, guys. Right. Have a good day. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.
See you.
How do I end this? Stop sharing. Close this.